right, welcome back, everybody, for another episode of Dollar Bin Digging. This is the video and article that I do for comicbookinvest.com, where I tell you about those books that you can still probably find tucked away in those cheap boxes, those discount bins, those dollar boxes, wherever you find your cheap comics. These are some books I think you should be on the lookout for based off of some of the recent news, rumors, announcements, things going on in the comics, etc. Just things that relate to our hobby that kind of spring to mind for me that I think you should be keeping an eye out for when you're digging in those cheap boxes. Kind of like a fun little scavenger hunt kind of challenge. With that all said, hopefully you're enjoying everything here on the channel. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And make sure you come back tomorrow for an all-new CBSI Hot 10, the list that I'm now putting together for the site. And if you want to see today's list of dollar bin books, you just got to wait a few more seconds after the intro, and I will be right back. All right, might be a short list today, but there's a few things that I want to share with you guys, and hopefully you don't mind if it is running a little bit short. First thing being, ROM. Yes, we got that ROM facsimile cover, but apart from that facsimile for ROM issue 1, ROM and the X-Men are getting a whole Marvel Tales. So there's going to be a Marvel Tales collected edition, one of those $8 kind of thicker, collected editions where they're collecting some of the famous stories where ROM and the X-Men actually cross paths. And there are quite a few. And I think, you know what? You should probably just keep an eye out for the regular books too when you're digging in those cheap boxes, so you don't have to spend the $8 on the collected edition or the super expensive 1 in 50 variant that they're going to inevitably have, as they have with all of those Marvel Tales books. But with that said, let's start off with the obvious ones that we're going to see. You're going to see ROM number 17. Yeah, big crossover here. Guest starring the Uncanny X-Men. You got Storm, everybody there, Wolverine, etc. This is a book that, again, just go out there digging, and you can see the X-Men right there on the cover. Plenty of ROM to be found out there in those cheap boxes. There really has been, and you probably still can find them too. That said, this one does okay. If you could find it, I mean, you're looking at copies that could sell for as cheap as like $3, sure, and then copies could go as much as like 10 to 15. Like, you're not going to get rich, but it's still kind of a fun thing you can find for really cheap. And if you didn't notice down below, it's 17 and 18 you can sometimes find bundled together and get yourself, $20, for the pair. So keep that in mind as well. As far as available copies, you can see here there might be a little bit more as far as the asking prices go in that kind of, again, 10 to under $20 kind of range. You're not getting, a ton of return on these, but if you can find yourself a decent copy, it would be worth your time to pull it out of that cheap box. I mentioned 18 because, yes, that would be the next issue that continues this story, so let's just take a look at that one too. Another X-Men on the cover, easy to identify, so if you don't remember the numbers, just look for the X-Men on ROM. You got Storm, you got the Snow, you got Nightcrawler down below, etc. This issue, in the same kind of vein as the last one, you can find really, really cheap copies that are only a couple of bucks. And as I showed before, that same set where you can find them kind of paired up as far as, a lot goes. Asking prices in that same kind of range, like, 18, I guess, could be a little bit cheaper because it's the second issue, but still, you're looking close to $10, right? You might find some graded copies out there as well, but prices are going to vary depending on grade because there's not a ton of back interest in a ROM X-Men crossover, but you never know. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. So just keep an eye out for it. Now, apart from the X-Men crossovers, ROM did crossover with a little bit more of the Mutant Nation, including the New Mutants. So with ROM Annual 3, we have here, you can see, guest starring the New Mutants in a little box there down below. So once again, if you don't remember the number, just look at the cover. And I know it's down on the bottom, but they're still there, and it tells you what's inside. So ROM Annual 3 has the New Mutants crossover in there. Another book that, if you could find it, it's probably worth your time to go and grab it. Not going to get you rich, but still 10 to 15 bucks. Some of the recent sales, and then you're looking at asking prices in that same kind of $10 to $20 kind of range. So by and large, depending on the grade, that's kind of what you're looking at with any of these old ROM books that have some of these guest appearances in them. Outside of X-Men and Mutants guest starring in ROM, there was that one time ROM guest starred over in the X-Men. So let's just look at that real fast. Uncanny X-Men 187. Classic. I mean, I love this run. I love the whole Uncanny run. It's just it's good stuff to me. Like, so I have all of these in my my filing cabinet down, back behind me. But 187 is the issue where you can see ROM showing up. There was a lot of Forge and ROM crossover throughout the ROM series, but here we see it kind of happening the other way with ROM showing up in the X title. So Uncanny X-Men 187 is one where you can see that happening. Again, not gonna get you rich. Copies can sell as cheap as $4, 250, and then look at that, a 9.8 is almost $100. So that's kind of cool if you can find a 9.8 candidate. Asking prices, on the other hand, 250, $4, $5. I know it's cheap, but that's kind of where a lot of the X-Men books are. They're kind of cheap. But then again, they're not that easy to find in the dollar bins anymore. But if you do find them, I just grab any of them, really. I mean, but then again, I'm kind of biased. I do like the X-Men. But 187 in particular, because of ROM, keep an eye out for it. And like I said, just kind of fun stuff that's tying into that upcoming reprinted Marvel Tales Collected Edition that we should be getting, getting pretty soon. Up next, another announcement of some upcoming comics. Spider-Man 2099. Spider-Man 2099 apparently is going to cross over with a bunch of Marvel classic monster characters, and they're going to be jazzed up, I guess, for the 2099 universe. Here we have an example with, Man-Thing being all technified there for the 2099 universe. It's kind of cool, but these are all going to be new, like, crossovers and newer characters, I think, to the 2099 universe. So we don't have first appearances for you to go back to yet, because they're going to be new versions, right? And some of the old classic characters, it's going to be hard to find their first. Like, you want to go and find the first Man-Thing, it's going to be too cold. You're not going to find it at a dollar bin. That's kind of what I'm getting at. I think Man-Wolf, same deal. But one crossover that you might still be able to, one of the crossover characters that's going to show up in one of these issues in 2099 Spider-Man is Terror Incorporated. Yes, had a couple of different looks throughout the years. And when he first showed up, he actually went by the name, I think it was like Shrek. It wasn't even going by Terror Incorporated, but this creepy, almost zombified kind of mercenary type character first showed up in Epic, the Epic run of St. George. I don't know if you guys remember Epic Comics, but this is also the kind of stuff you find tucked away in those cheap boxes, those off-brand kind of imprints. I know Epic's not really off-brand, but it is a lesser-known brand, and it's the kind of stuff that does fill those cheap boxes. But St. George, a Shadowline Saga, issue 2 actually is the first appearance again of the character of that becomes Terror Incorporated again. At the time, I think he was going by Shrek. But there you go. Again, he had different kind of look, more monstery kind of vibe than more recent years. But this was still the first, and it's marketed as such in a lot of places. It's one of those oddball books, and it is not expensive, and it is something you can probably dig out of those cheap boxes. Here, let's look at it. Here, recent sales, they're around $5. So again, if you do find one, just consider yourself lucky and just put a smile on your face, because you're not going to get rich finding a dollar book, spending $1 for a book that's only going to sell for $5. Sorry, but it's still kind of fun if you can go hunt one out, right? Asking prices, same kind of deal. $3, $4, $5. Not going to get you rich, but comics should be fun. At least that's how I take it. That's why not all of these are going to be huge increases in price and value, because, I can tell you to go find all these expensive books in dollar bins, but what's the reality is that you're not going to find a lot of expensive books because they're going to get pulled because they're expensive. It's more the forgotten, weird, oddball stuff is what I'm trying to give to you, and hopefully you just find that amusing. So, St. George number 2, get that first Terror Incorporated. Next up, been talking a little bit about Aquaman 2 because the trailer looked okay. Some of the CGI needs some work, but it's still early. We still got until December. They might finish it up and be a little more polished by the time we actually get the final result. But Black Manta still looks cool to me. So I'm looking forward to this. And apparently part of the movie is going to include some of the Black Manta spin-off ideas they had, because at one time I think they were going to do some sort of spin-off series starring Black Manta, which I kind of would have been into. But now it's kind of morphed into, I guess, this Aquaman 2 movie. I've been tracking his first appearance in Aquaman 35 for a while now. Not a ton of sales, a little bit. This was on the outside looking in list, the kind of almost hot 10 kind of list, like the ones that almost made the list, but just on the outside looking in. That's where this one found itself last week. But did you know this is reprinted? And you can probably find the reprint for cheap. And that reprint that I'm talking about is this. DC Superstars presents Aquaman, number 7. Inside, you're getting the first reprint of that first appearance of the Black Manta inside the guts of this book. So, hey, cheap option, fun little reprint that you go out there and hunt in those dollar bins. And, you find it, it's going to get you a couple extra bucks, but not too many. And when I say a couple, I mean, look, one went at auction for $2, then others sold for $5 to $10. Recent sales. Again, just a fun little thing. Asking prices in that kind of $10 to $20 range, depending on the grade and depending on what you find out there. Still, I think it's kind of a fun little thing for you to go and challenge yourself and see if you can go find yourself a DC Superstars Presents Aquaman #7. And if you do, and if you find any of these books, please tag me on Instagram. Share your finds, share your pickups. I love seeing it. I love seeing what you guys are digging and finding out there. I love this hobby. I want to see more comics and talk more comics. So don't, just go ahead and tag me, Rennavision, on Instagram. That said, 2 more stories, and then we're going to be done. So this could be like a 15-minute show this week. Might be a really quick one, but I'm trying to get used to this new schedule. With that said, another little story I picked up this week while going through the news items is that it looks like Ryan Coogler's Wakanda spinoff might actually get turned into an animated series. I know the headline also goes about an X-Men 97 spinoff, but we're not going into that. We're just going off of the idea of this Wakanda series that we were told is going to focus in on the Dora Milaje, and we were thinking, like, okay, this would be kind of cool that they might just do it as an animated series as opposed to a full live-action show. I mean, we know since Iger came back, he's kind of trimming back on some of the show ideas that they're going to do for Disney Plus just because of the costs. The costs involved, apparently they're not getting their money in return for what they're investing in some of these shows. I get it. Big budget shows, these big ideas, etc. I'm not opposed to an animated show. I'm down to catch a good cartoon if you got one for me. So go ahead, bring it on. With that in mind, some of the stories and ideas and characters they might mine for said animated show might not just be Black Panther. They might go beyond that. So let's look back at that recently released, was just last year, Wakanda series. So they kind of spotlighted a bunch of different characters in the world of Wakanda, like here, issue 1, starring Shuri. Go look for this series because you know what? They're actually out there, and it's overstock type stuff that's now probably found its way into those cheap boxes because they're just there now. They're not selling for all that much, so you can go and probably dig them out. It was only a 5-issue run. There's issue 1, and then we'll give you 2 and 3 on the sides. You got Killmonger, you got M'Baku, and then we can go with 4 and 5, where we get Tosin, everybody's favorite new character. It's going to be as big as Miles Morales. Well, maybe not, but hey, it's still worth looking into and getting this stuff for the stories and seeing what might happen in this upcoming animated show. And then we got Okoye as well, wrapping it up there with that number 5. Bottom line, only a 5-issue series, and as you can see, it sells for pretty cheap, even in sets. $18.50, $13.51, best offer on $10 for all 5 issues. I didn't even bother looking up what the accepted offer was. It was less than $2 a comic. That's my point. Asking prices again, you can see full sets as cheap as $15, and they could be as expensive as $35 for the whole 5-issue set. But that's what's out there. That's what's out there. I'm telling you, go and find in those cheap boxes, those dollar boxes at your shops, your yard sales, Goodwills, flea markets, wherever you're doing your digging. Go and look for this stuff at half-price books, if you will. Maybe you find the whole set for cheap, and you get yourself a good read. In addition to that series of Wakanda, there was also that little offshoot title that came out a while ago with Black Panther and the Agents of Wakanda. He had a whole little crew and team going. I don't think this is really going to be the angle to go, but it could be. I mean, we look at this lineup of characters. Who knows what they're going to do on this Wakanda show? Maybe they do go off the wall and we get a Gorilla Man in there. I don't know. Maybe Kazar. Yeah, it's probably the long shot, but you never know. Bottom line, it's still another series you can go and find for cheap, including it's only 8 issues. So look for those. I put my favorite cover in here, this Nakayama for issue 6. Big fan of that cover. And then 4's not bad when you got the werewolf, and Fing Fang Foom's always good on issue 8. It's just some fun stories and fun things to read. And there's only 8 of them. And I'm sure you can go and find them in the cheap boxes. And you can even see how cheap they sell online, with copy selling as little as 99 cents to entire runs being sold for $16 or $20 for 8 issues. It's not too bad. Asking prices again, 8-issue runs looking for like $20, or incomplete runs for like $10. There's lots individual issues. Let's look at auction with $1 at $1 with one bid. They're not expensive books. These are things you can go and find in those cheap boxes. Like I said, some cool covers, some fun stories, and just enjoy comics. And who knows? Maybe we do tie something into one of these animated shows coming up. It's possible, but just something to go and look for. That said, one more topic for the week, and then I'm going to let you guys go because I got to go get some dinner still. I'm filming this on Thursday late afternoon. It's already kind of late, but I want to get this done. I want to get this out for today. So here we go. Marvel is also bringing back giant size comics. I know you've seen them, and everybody knows Giant Size X-Men 1. Yeah, that's probably the first one that comes to your mind. Giant Size X-Men 1. And yes, there's some others out there that are some good giant size books to get, like what's that? Fantastic Four. It's got First Multiple Man in it, etc. But there's a lot of giant size books that you could find that are just out there. Just weird titles, weird crossovers with horror characters in some cases. We'll get to that in a second. The idea, though, is starting in 2024, Marvel's bringing back giant size comics. So we'll see what the new ones have for us, but it reminds me of the old ones. So let's go over a few of the old ones that you might not know could get you a couple extra bucks if you can go and dig them out. Again, they got some weird titles, weird generic titles, mind you, like Giant Size Creatures, featuring Werewolf by Night. Yeah, so it's got a Werewolf by Night. And this one in particular is actually the first appearance of Tigra. She's right there, see? So you're getting the first appearance of Tigra in this one, too, if you can go and find it. Just a fun thing to know, fun thing to look for. Copies of this, 20 to 30 bucks. Recent sales, again, condition sensitive, like depending on the grade, you can get higher returns if it's a nicer copy. Then you can see asking prices are a little bit more expensive, 30, 40, even 50. There's even some more than that. There's graded copies because it is a first appearance. It's a first appearance of an Avenger with Tigra, but it's still one of those weird oddball books that can get easily overlooked in the back issues of those boxes. When collections come in, it just gets filled in with those other junky annuals and things that nobody wants. Could be a little worn, pages could be a little yellowed, but it still could be worth $1 if you can go and dig it out of there. That's all I'm saying. A couple of more you want to keep an eye out for are this one right here, Giant Size Superheroes, featuring Spider-Man. It's got a nice little crossover with Man-Wolf and Morbius. So again, sticking with a horror theme because we're just about to enter October, getting into that Halloween spirit. So that's where my mind was working today when I was putting this one together. Special issue, once again, it's not going to be a ton of money, but still 10, 12, 25 bucks. Recent sales, asking prices, as little as 8, as high as 30. It really depends on the condition. A lot of these, they're giant size, so they're going to be thicker, going to be some spine ticks. They're not always going to be in the best of shape, but hey, it just means the comic was loved. That's all. So maybe you'll love it too if you can find it for a nice cheap price. With that said, let's get to the next one. We got another little crossover here. Another Spidey crossing over with Dracula this time. So Giant Size Spider-Man, #1, is just featuring Dracula. Like, it looks like a lot of this is all the title, but it's actually not. Like, the title just finishes Giant Size Spider-Man 1. It just happens to have Dracula in this one. So keep an eye out for this one because it's Dracula and it's the spirit of the season. $11, best offer on $12.99. So look, that's a little over $10. Again, you're not going to get rich, but it's still kind of a fun thing to look for. Asking prices could be closer to $25 though, from what I saw when I was digging out there and looking. So maybe you can do better than those $10 sales. I don't know. Take a shot. Who knows what you might dig out of there. All right. And leaving off all of the horror themes, I know I had a lot of werewolves, a lot of vampires there, but it goes across a bunch of titles. There's Giant Size Daredevil, there's Giant Size X-Men, as I said. Like, everybody forgets about Giant Size X-Men too. It's like an orange cover. It doesn't really go for all that much, but you see it all the time out there. But other titles like Giant Size Avengers. This is a pretty cool Kang here. So Ramatut, you got Kang, issue 2 of Giant Size Avengers. This is another one you want to look for because you could get a good return if you can find this. Here's some examples. Recent sales as cheap as $12. There's another one for $20, and then look at that down there, near mint one, $95. So with Loki season 2 coming, we're getting Kang back. Kang interest might start moving some of these oddball books, and this isn't like one everybody thinks of. Nobody's talking about Giant Size Avengers 2. So go dig in boxes, go dig in back issue bins. Yes, maybe you don't find it in a dollar bin, but the point being, wherever you go find cheap comics, go and look for some of this stuff. And as you can see here with the asking prices, they're also wide-ranging, 20 to 50, depending on the condition and depending on the seller, obviously. But It's just something that's worth your time to just know and to go and look for. I'm just trying to expand your mental Rolodex of books. So when you're flipping through those boxes, you know what some of this stuff is, because it could end up getting to be white noise after a while when you're flipping. So I'm just trying to train you to think of different things when you're flipping through those boxes. And you hit a run of oddball things like, ooh, giant size. Because a lot of times shops and places will put the giant sizes all together. But with that all said, that's all I got for you this week. I know the list was kind of short. I told you going into it the list was going to be a little short, but I had a few other things I had to get done today. So, with that, thanks for stopping by and checking this out. Hopefully, you enjoyed this as well as everything else here on the channel. Make sure you come back tomorrow, not only for the CBSI Hot 10 show at 9, but stick around for the live Get Off My Lawn podcasting show where the boys are going to go into some more fun stuff for you. Bruce Timm, I believe, is going to get spotlighted tomorrow. I love me some Bruce Timm, so make sure you come back and check the boys out at around 9:30 or so. So, with that all said, you know the schedule by now. I'm not going to run it down at the end of every show, but I do appreciate all the support, and I'll be back soon with some more content. All right.